Hi, I'm Kathy Mills from Short Film Edits, and I'm here with Carl Burcham for an interview today. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you, Kathy. Nice to talk to you.
You too. Can we start this with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sure. Well, I have somewhat of a unique story, I guess, as far as verticals. I grew up in the Midwest, and I've worked in a lot of different places in the U.S. In Washington, I worked for 20 years. I worked in Texas for a long time and lived in Austin. And then about 5 years ago, I guess it was 6 years ago, we decided to. It was even more, I guess now. It was right before COVID. We said, let's leave Texas, and we threw everything in a big suburban rental and drove out to San Diego. And we lived there all during the COVID years, and it was very nice. During the COVID years, um, I decided to get a screenwriting uh, certificate from UCLA. And I started writing screenplays, and I've had a lot of success with screenplays. I have had 8 second rounders at Austin Film Festival. I've had a number of different awards from other contests, but I wasn't getting anything produced which is very difficult, even harder than acting. And I decided when we moved to Los Angeles several years ago, and then a year ago, I decided I like screenwriting. I still get some awards at festivals, but I wanted to find out maybe from an actor's point of view, and that would help me in both ways, acting and screenwriting. And
Mm.
so when I was 65, I was screenwriting. When I'm 70, now I'm 70 years old, I started acting. So most people
Mm.
in the industry have a longer career. I know you talked to Gabe Armentano.
Yes.
He talked about 15 years, he said he's been acting, and he's a wonderful young man, by the way.
Mm.
And but and he complimented me and said, "Wow, that's really good. You got to keep at it, So it's never too late."
Yes. Yeah, that goes to show that no matter age, you can still follow your dream no matter what.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So I was going to ask what inspired you to start acting, but the screenplays would play a big part in that.
Screenplays, but also I found myself with the screenplays watching more movies and television. And then I started to learn uh, and read about how actors prepare and that sort of thing. And then there's another piece too. I'm, uh, we live in Los Angeles, and we live basically between Beverly Hills and West Hollywood. So it's right in the sweet spot. And for a long time, we just recently got a car. We walk everywhere, and then we take cabs or whatever. And we go to places, and we'd always see famous people, and they're always famous actors like Al Pacino. I mean, some of the big people, we saw Jodie Foster the other day and Will Ferrell are in the same restaurant. I mean, and I started thinking about, and then I would look at their work, and I'm like, wow, that's what she just did right there. It looks easy, but it's pretty difficult what she just did. And I started to read more about it. And uh, I found out that this business, verticals in particular, but the business is so collaborative that you can't say you're an actor and you're a screenwriter and you're a director. I mean, it's like everyone does a little of everything to make this put together this final product. And we went to we're we're lucky to be members of the academy, which is just you pay a fee, but we get to go to shows a lot there, and they have people who have done the shows come out and talk. And one time, one of them, uh, the writer director said, movies are really like a house. They're just scenes are a bunch of bricks. Here's a good brick. Here's a good brick. Here's a good brick, and pretty soon you have a nice house. And it's the same thing with movies. Each scene has its own little piece of that bigger story, and they all have to work together. And everybody from lighting to acting to makeup to all of the unsung heroes, the producers behind it, the people you don't see on screen. It's fascinating business, and I've worked in marketing and advertising my whole life, but I've never seen such, and I'm fascinated by it. Such a collaborative business, and there's no give me your resume and you can move up. That's what I was used to in the business world. Here it's like you performed really well there. We think that's pretty good. Maybe you're good for this part. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are. Maybe you're better for this, and just keep plugging away. And I'm like, okay, I
Yeah,
will.
yeah, definitely. I mean, even some actors say, "Oh, I might not be good for that role." Like, but if you really want to do that role, audition because you may not get that part, but there might be another part in that film that you're perfect
Sure,
at.
absolutely,
So just keep going. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. And I'm also very big in saying that everybody on the film set is incredibly important. Every
They
single
are.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of the things too, with verticals. Like my first vertical, I imagine everybody's first. They're like,
Mhm.
"What's this going to be about?" And then, but it literally, it was they actually turned the camera vertically, and but then that causes lots of things change. Then the actor becomes totally important. And there's no B-roll, there's no setting up a scene or whatever. It's a face appears. And then when there's four or five, which happens a lot, four or five people in a scene, they like have to stack, or they have to cut or whatever. And it's just amazing. And lighting and aesthetics are very good. I was amazed. I thought, you see people shoot stuff on their phone and you're like, nah, it's crappy. But the people, the cinematographers, they are really good. And they shoot with two cameras typically.
Yeah.
So they'll be one from one perspective, another from another perspective, and they capture, and of course you've heard from all the people you've spoken to, they do it in record time. They do it in 6 to 12 days. 12's a great time if you have 12
Yeah.
days, but
Yeah.
and so and you don't get a script until like a week if you're lucky before, and
Yeah.
and they're changing the day of. You're like, what? This is changed. It's just
Hmm.
so fast. It's so
Yeah.
fast. It's
You
it's a
have to be
lot of
prepared.
fun.
You have to
Yeah,
be
fun,
prepared.
fun.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do you assess emotional truth on demand?
Oh gosh, this is a good one. I I had not taken acting classes before, and there's a fella here he's been in a lot of stuff, but he went through the Yale Drama School, and he has an acting program. And I did several, and I continued to do it because, you're a lifelong learner from my perspective, but I really need to continue to improve. But he talks about the source and what's your source. And so there was I couldn't believe I did it. I didn't know I could do it, but I cried on demand because I went to my source, and the other people, yeah, I call them kids because I'm always the oldest in the class and in the room, but because I'm 70. But they were like, you're supposed to talk on your phone, and then like talking on the phone, and there's a lot of silence, and it's like, yeah, and it's like, so I watched that, and then I got my source was like, I'm almost doing it now. My best friend who was killed in a car crash, and I was talking to him in heaven, and I just started going, and you're supposed to switch between happy, sad, all that, and the teacher said, the instructor said, just stay with it. And I never went to another place than that. And it was so cool because they were passing Kleenexes around because I had tapped into my source. But before that day, I never would have thought I could ever do that. And I mean, I know there's great actors that do that all the time, but for me, I was like that, and I truly did lose my place where I was. It was, and the instructor said you have to be kind of careful with that stuff sometimes because you come out of that and you're like kind of paralyzed for 5 minutes or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's how I tap it is I rely on that source, and I try and understand what my character wants, why I'm not getting it, and then what is it the backstory for that character, and I also try and fluctuate emotions between happy, sadness, whatever. And again, Gabe is great at that. Another kid I worked with, a younger kid, Josh Yorks, he's great at that too. He'll be smiling one day, 1 minute, and the next he's like evil. So that's how I tap into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I guess using personal experiences, it's really important to have a way out when you finish
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
just so that you don't get stuck. And I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, that would have
Yeah.
been hard. That's okay. All
Mm.
right. Do you rehearse heavily or do you prefer to discover things in the moment?
Well, I have this little there's a technical side and there's an emotional side as far as I'm concerned. The technical side is uh when I learn lines, I write them down because I learn by writing and seeing that. But then I'll put them on like a sticky note and I'll put them on my mirror in the closet and I'll go through and I do the lines of the other people I'm reacting with too. And then I'll go through that and rehearse it and then I'll adjust. And then at the very last I'll film myself, self tape myself and look at because that way I can actually see better what my facial expressions, what my responses were to things, how I can build the emotion. Was it too slow, too fast? Uh, and again, in the acting classes, they tell you same line, and they say over and over again. They're always doing it. Graham Shields is always saying, "Okay, say it as if your heart's broken. Say it if you're angry. Say it if you hate that guy. Say if you love that guy." It's like all these different things. Uh, so, having said that, I do a lot of rehearsing for it, but in the moment, especially with verticals, uh, you're playing off the other character too a lot
Yeah.
because you didn't have that before when you're doing self taping yourself. So
Yeah.
that can inspire you or it can enrage you. That's a big piece. That's a big piece of it. What's the other actor doing? And again, the collaborative piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
They could go into it completely different than anything you actually
Yep.
imagined in the first place. So yeah, we just got to roll with it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
expected them to be really nice, but they weren't. They were mean. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've got to adapt. Yep. Yep. All right. Do you
Oh,
create backstory
okay.
details that
Oh,
never
I
appear on
wanted to.
screen? Yep.
Can I go back and tell you a story though about I sorry to interrupt, but
No,
this
that's
is
okay.
this is a good example.
Yep.
There was I worked with an actor when I was at the Postal Service and did the stamp program for for the United States for years. And one of the person on the committee was Carl Malden, and he won an Academy Award. He won the Academy Award in Streetcar Named Desire, but everyone thought Marlon Brando did. He did not. Carl did. And he said he was in this movie, famous movie called One Eyed Jacks, and Marlon Brando is being whipped by Carl Malden. He's the sheriff, and he's the bad guy's Marlon Brando. And he said he's whipping him. And in the middle of that, Marlon Brando turned and spit on him. And
Hmm.
Carl was like, he stopped and like, oh my, and it made him really madder, and he hit him hard. And it's like Brando, he said, the supposedly one of the best actors ever, would do stuff like that, just to get
Hmm.
the other actor engaged. But
Yeah.
I haven't had it happen to me yet, but,
Yeah.
but I
And it
can
gives
see
them
how that
something
would work.
unexpected too that they can work with, which is,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
it can either bring you even more into the character or it can throw you off. So we just got to
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
try and get into
Well,
that one.
the real pros, the people that are into their character, they
Yeah.
will stay in their character and respond. But the
Yeah.
ones who are like, well, that's not in the script, they're like, yeah, they won't.
Yeah. Improvisation is very big, and I know a lot of actors love to improvise when they get that
Sure.
freedom to do so.
Sure. Some of your best comedic actors started in improv.
Mm,
Yep.
yep, absolutely. Okay. Do you create backstory details that never appear on screen?
Um, like I said, I will look. Well, let me put it this way: when you have to do an audition, this is for people who are watching or new actors like me. I've learned this is they don't give you the whole script; they give you the sides, and you have to kind of almost make up a backstory, or else you won't have a complete picture of that character. And even in acting classes, they won't tell you about, they'll give you a sides and a scene, but they won't tell you what's just happened or what's going to happen. And if you have a script, you know that as a screenwriter, I know what's going to happen. I know what that actor should do, but and that makes the performance more real and authentic because you have to know that you have to make up that character. You may be wrong. You may not have it exactly nailed, but a casting director, what they've told me and what I've read and what I've seen is that they want to see on authenticity. And so you may have that backstory off a little bit, but in that moment, if you've created that backstory and it feels real to you, that authenticity comes off on the screen. So
Yeah.
I always at least a little bit try and understand, try and make up a backstory if I don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that one. Okay. What's your process to finding a character's physicality?
Um, well, it's interesting in verticals. There's a lot of slapstick going on. It's like,
Yes, there
it's a,
is.
I know I had to learn to back slap so it looked real without hitting the actor, the other actor and things like that. So uh, there's always physicality, but then there's also this other piece that is potential physicality. And it's like, it's not, sometimes it's not always the slap or the shot or whatever. It's the threat of it. It's is this person, I can see in their eyes, this isn't going to end well. What's going to
Mhm.
happen? And it's the suspense of it that makes it so wonderful a perform. Again, I'm a movie buff, so Psycho, they never showed her being stabbed in the shower. It was 100 shots. And there was blood going down the drain. There was a scream. There was all this stuff. But it wasn't this, like some of the horror movies where it's like, that
Mm.
wasn't, you didn't see it. And the scene was so great because you didn't see it, but the suspense of it was what your eyes were glued to the screen. So,
Mm.
uh, some of it is for me is the threat of physicality. And in character my characters are older, so they're not always going to be the ones who wrestle like the younger guys do, or the women, pulling hair and stuff.
Mm.
Mine is more like you know poisoning or something like that. But I've what was it? You're always the old guy who's in the bed who's been poisoned or something like that,
Yeah.
or you've got
Yeah.
to act like you're poisoned and things like that. That's the physicality I have to master. But
Yeah. You want to play the lovable granddad instead, you know.
yeah, yeah.
You
Well, it's funny. I tell the younger people we have lots of handsome young men and women in Hollywood, and they're in their 30s to 25 to 35. And I always tell them, man, I'd hate to be you because there are so many of you, and you're all so handsome, and you're all such good actors and stuff. Me, I'm in this little niche. It's like I've done 60 years old, 58 years old, 76-year-old. I've done a range of that, but
Mm.
I can nail that because I can play really old and decrepit, or I can play physically fit and youthful. And I
Mm.
work out every day, so I'm in really good shape. So I can
Yeah.
play that part too, but it's a real narrow range,
Mm.
and so I'm happy with that. I mean, stereo Caspian, there's lots of roles like that,
Yep.
and in verticals, there's always the patriarch. I'm always the rich patriarch. And I am in student films too. I'm always that, or a famous author, or a lawyer, or
Mhm.
sometimes I can be a crazy man too because I have a beard, and so,
Yeah.
the beard opens up a lot of roles. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so the physicality, the look and feel, and all that. I have that range, but I'm happy to play that range.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because yeah, it makes you unique as well, which
Yeah,
is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What makes another actor great to work with from your perspective?
Um, So there's this thing in improv where you don't you don't shut down the dialogue and the interchange. You continue it. You say this and that, and you build because the first moment you go to, and then the cat died, is like, yeah, that scene's over. Right? So it's the same thing with I think with actors. I excel when and that's why I loved Gabe. Gabe was like there was a scene where his whole, and so did Josh actually, and those two. Scene where Grandpa's in bed and supposedly he's dying or somebody's poisoning him or he's faking it, and they're holding my hand and stuff, and it's like they were really holding my hand. It wasn't like just touching it. It was like they're hold. I felt like I was really dying in that scene, and this is my grandson. So it
Yeah.
was that believable. I have to believe them as an actor too, as well as the people on the screen watching them. And that really helps a performance, I think. I have yet to meet in any set an asshole. Sorry if you
Hmm.
have to bleep that, but
That's okay.
I haven't met anyone unless they're in the business offices, and then it's like yeah, but I know that. But the
Yeah.
people on the people on the creative side, uh, directors, uh, actors, cinematographers, lighting people, uh, even drivers even that drive you to the set or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're all collaborative, and I perform much better that way. And when I feel like I'm loved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm so glad that you had a good experience with all of that. But
yeah,
that's important. It makes everything easier when
yeah,
everybody's working together.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have you ever had a scene partner completely change your performance in an unexpected way?
Hmm. Um, Yeah, I actually did it in a student film. I had a guy, this guy is a young guy who he's apparently like an influencer that has millions of views on some of his stuff, TikToks and Instagrams and some of his shorts that he does. And he threw me for a loop because I was this, he was supposed to be the younger me. I was the older professor. And
Mhm.
you know, it was in the script. It says, that he's kind of sad or whatever, but he changed it completely, and he was almost sorrowful. But he changed it completely by getting in my face, and he got me really upset. And then I had a much better performance because of that. And the director was also the writer of the script. He was good with it. He said that's even better than what I envisioned. So I'm sure it happens all the time. That's the one I can think of, though.
Yeah, I love that. I was just speaking to somebody else who said that he wrote his own screenplay and he went into, because he was the main character, he went into it thinking that one of the scenes would go that way because that's what he envisioned. But then the director said, let's change it up and see if we can do it this way. And he
Yeah,
said that just fit it so much better that he didn't even think of. And it was one of
yeah,
the best scenes in the show. So
oh yeah. It
yeah.
happens all the time. I just had an audition Monday last week for another film, not a vertical, but the director, I was playing it as I'm an internal chief legal officer, and I'm telling on the boardroom that, basically, you guys are idiots. This is not how it's going to go down. It's going to go down a lot worse. And he said, after I did it that way, he said, "Well, could you play it a little more collaborative? Like you're in there and you're telling them the bad news, but you're not really angry at them. You're on their side." And it
Yeah.
was like, that was a total 360. And it was
Mm.
actually better because that's
Yeah.
probably how you would play it as a chief legal officer for something. It's like,
Mm.
guys, ladies, this is not how this is going to go down. It's going to be a lot worse than you thought. as opposed to
Yeah.
you bunch of idiots. What are you thinking? So
And
yeah,
to be honest, in that position, the people listening to that would resonate with it better if it's calm and
yeah,
firm rather than angry. And yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah,
subtlety. Acting is subtlety.
yeah,
It's never, and that's one of the issues I would say to any vertical writer or director or actor. The only thing, well, not the only thing, there's a few things, but one of the things that bothers me, and I understand why, but a lot of the verticals have on the nose dialogue. It'll be like well, there's one where she's a secret agent. She's an assassin. And it starts out, this is the very first scene. She starts out, and the mafia people are like, so she's the one who killed that family that would never have been died before, and she killed them all. It's like, yeah, that's her. It's like it's so on
yeah,
the nose. But the what reason that is because verticals to get past the paywall of 10 episodes, they have to set the story up really fast.
yes,
So
yeah.
I understand that. It has its own little quirks, but in the end, it's a lot of fun. And they're pretty good shows at the end of the day. They're pretty fun to watch.
See, I'm a little bit different like that. See, I obviously I love verticals, as you know, but if somebody leaves me not knowing all the story or like wanting
Mhm.
to find out more of the story, that's going to make me go to the paywall or through the paywall because I want to find out.
Sure.
But if you tell me all of it beforehand, I'm like, okay, I know the premise of this story. Do you think I'll really enjoy watching the rest?
I agree.
But if you
I
don't
know.
tell me, then I want to know.
I know. I
Yeah.
I agree. I think good writing is the way to get you past the paywall, the way to get you to
Mhm.
the end of the movie, however you
Yeah.
want to turn this, is to build the suspense each episode, which they do
Hmm.
pretty well. You
Yeah.
don't have to do it with on the nose dialogue.
No.
You can do it by keeping a mystery and like explain that in episode 57 right before the movie ends,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, I waited all this time and that's what it was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, I'm better with ones like that. But like I said, I do understand the needing to lay out the
sure,
story.
sure.
They're getting better.
Yeah, they
Like
are.
I'm seeing a progress in scripts and things, which is great.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. The one thing I was talking to somebody the other day about this is that it's like living in LA and looking for acting gigs. I'd say half of the acting gigs now are verticals.
Mm,
Everyone else in this town is going to Vancouver or New Mexico. Some are shooting on the East Coast, some are going to Georgia. It's so expensive to make movies here now. And the movies that are made are 100 million. I think FX was $300 million and it made a billion worldwide. Well,
yeah.
these verticals shoot for well under $100,000 most of the time,
Mm,
and they do it in 12 days. And the actors don't make a great amount of money like they should, hopefully one day. But they're churning out a lot of these things, and it's
yeah.
like it's called the long tail. So you've got a few at the front, and then there's a lot at the end, and a lot of people are doing that. But now in the industry, the big studios are starting to find out, and they're like, huh. But what might happen, everybody that talk of the town around here, is what will happen to the verticals. Will they take those over and drive up the price? Will verticals stay? I think verticals will stay close to what they are because they're worldwide loved. I mean, you're in Australia. They're started in China. They're in every part of the world.
Mm,
They're Japan. They're big. It's
mm,
so I think that there'll always be a need, and they're shot vertically. And
mm.
Hollywood loves to spend a lot of money to get lavish sets and things like that. I don't know. I don't think it ends well if they continue to drive up prices like that.
Yeah. My biggest worry is I know that the space is open to a lot of people, and so it should be new actors, new talent, which is great.
Mhm.
I'm just worried that if it gets, or when it gets, because I know it's getting bigger, which is great, but we don't want to lose the talent we already have
Mhm.
because some of
Yeah.
this talent is incredible and we don't want all that taken over by. what they call A+ actors, bring
I
them
agree.
in, but don't take over. We want to
I
keep the
totally agree.
talent we already have.
I
So,
totally agree. Yeah. We had we had Gabe and then Zach Riss. Do you know Zach
yep,
Riss?
yep.
Yeah. Oh my God, those two guys, powerhouse, just powerhouse.
Hmm.
They're both like 6'3" or something. Zach is like got a chest that looks like a muscle man. He's like, but he can be subtle and soft and funny, and those guys are skillful. They could get
Yeah.
a leading acting job in any studio in town. They really
Hmm.
could. Yeah.
Yeah. I love my conversation with Gabe. I learned a lot from him. He's an amazing person.
It really is. It really
Yeah.
is. He has this voice that because I've talked to him about my voice is not I can't project it like he does, but he projects his voice so incredibly. But it was because he probably told you this, but he was taking care he was a caregiver for an older woman who he dearly loved. Uh, and so he had to listen carefully and he had to project his voice so she could hear him. And over the years, he honed it. And
Yeah.
oh man, it's incredible. Yeah.
Life experiences can bring out your best work.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, good on him. All right. What's harder for you, doing less or doing more?
Well, I'm a new actor, remember, not too far. I've had about 30 jobs in about 5 months, I guess.
Hmm.
So I'm getting a lot of work, lots of auditions. Uh, but I think it's harder to do less, but that's
Mm.
just because I'm learning. And
Yeah.
uh, once I learn, and I started to do less and less and less in auditions, and I don't mind. I will learn when I do auditions. Uh, and it's pretty the thing is, and I saw this on a casting director was on Instagram said it is the camera picks up everything subtleties that you don't need to it's the you don't have to do the Jack Nicholson Johnny's home that scene he's do that stuff like that it's the camera picks it up and
Yeah.
but I'm learning little techniques of pauses and uh, modulating the voice and
Mm.
silence uh,
Yeah.
and not no facial expressions. I tried out for a part, almost got it for someone who it was an ad. There's some really well-paying advertisements, television ads, and it was for Parkinson's disease, and I had to
Mm.
study that. And they don't have any facial expressions. They're like a smile is like you know,
Yeah.
and things like that. And it still comes off as emotional.
Yeah.
So the human face is an interesting thing, and if it, it's and it's hard. Oh, there's a show called what's it Attorney Woo on Netflix where
Hmm.
she's on the spectrum and she's an attorney and she had to learn all these facial expressions because she doesn't know how to do them.
Yeah.
And I thought that'd be hard as an actress to try and pull off, but she does it
Yeah.
really well.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I've also heard that it's hard. I know mainly in verticals, I guess, where you've got to do like nothing in a scene, but you have to show that you're doing nothing,
Mhm.
with your face and things like that. Like you got
Yeah,
to show that you're not, you got to have an emotion where you're trying to keep it in and not react, but then you need to show
yeah,
that. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So,
Well, yeah, I do. One of the things that is difficult in verticals is um, some scenes have so much dialogue. And
hmm.
remember, an episode is a minute and a half in a vertical.
Yeah.
So this scene may go on 4 episodes.
Hmm.
And you're in the scene those 4 episodes, and you may have 2 lines. And you're all the time have to be, you know, responding emotionally or not and it's difficult sometimes. It's not like the typical. There's here's the scene and it's, an exchange between two people and it lasts 30 seconds. It's not
Mm.
like that in verticals. There's a lot of, there are many episodes that are shot uh, simultaneously and they're, in a less than 5 minutes. But everyone has to know their lines and stuff. And in the editing room, they do a lot of magic with
Oh
that kind of
yes,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I edit my interviews and that's different, but I just had this experience. I got 13 minutes of footage and I had to dull it down to the 90 seconds.
Oh,
And like I
wow.
was putting clips together and then I look at it, I'm like, this is 4 minutes long still. But I'm trying to
Yeah,
get every piece of information in here,
I know.
but I have to cut it again. And I managed to do it, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it's missing that part, it's missing that part, it's missing
Yeah,
that part. But you don't need to have all that because it's
right.
like just a trailer clip. So you just need to
Yeah,
cut out, you need to bring in the wow factor clips and
yeah,
leave out the more subtle ones for the film itself. So
sure.
that was a new learning experience for me as well, but I
Yeah.
did it and I learned something through that process too.
Oh, yeah. Two things, two thoughts on that. One is, as a screenwriter, that was one of the first things I learned because if that's your
Mm,
babies, those words are those are my babies. I can't cut that out. And my
hmm
instructors at UCLA, they were like, "Nah, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't advance the story. There's no conflict." But I liked it. Is that well? You don't have to like it. It's just, I mean, it's not going to end the way you want it to end because it's got to be a good. There's got to be an arc. There's got all this stuff.
Yeah.
So the other thought is this is the first year the Academy Award gave the Oscars for casting director, and
Mm,
I always thought that's a very important job. I
yeah,
think they ought
very.
to give it. I think they ought to give it for trailers because
Mm,
they take a movie that's 3 hours and put it into
hmm
30 seconds and have to get you excited about it that you'll spend these days, $25-$30 to go to a theater to
hmm
see it. And that's magical, man. You have to just really narrow your perspective and get
Yeah,
the stuff that's really important. That's a good thing about verticals though, too, is because they do that. They get you
yeah,
right into the story.
yeah. It's a talent. And like I said, I didn't realize, even though I've done a little bit of editing, I didn't realize how much you needed to work on that to get that out there. And now I know it's a
Yeah.
reality check for me too, which is good. I like
As
that.
yeah, and especially since I mean, unfortunately, it's the truth. People's attention spans are like this now, when they used to be like
hmm
this, and that's one of the reasons verticals are popular because people's attention spans are 1.5 minute episodes. So
Yeah, yeah. And like I've heard from a lot of people that when they're watching a TV series or a film, if they're not hooked after the first episode or the first 20 minutes of a movie, they give up sometimes. So I
yeah,
always force myself to go at least 3 episodes into a series
right,
because if I'm not interested by the third episode,
right.
what's the point? You know,
I
you gotta hook people
yeah.
in.
Yeah, I had that. We've had that discussion around here for the Academy Awards this year. Is like
Mm,
Sinners. It took me like 4 times to finish it, but when I
mm,
finished it, I was glad I finished it because it was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And the acting performance is what kept me going because that the actor uh, who won Best Actor, he that was incredible. But
Mm,
yeah, it's like that. Something you do it with books, we do it with TV shows, we do it with series. But attention spans these days are you really got to get people
yeah.
fast.
You
Yeah,
do. People want to stay interested. You know, they want something that excites them quickly. And
yeah,
I think that's very important. So
yeah. And
yeah.
there's so much stuff out there now. There's so much content. I mean, with
hmm
everything that there is, there's just they have so many choices. Before we
Yeah.
had three networks in the United States. We had CBS, ABC, and NBC. And
Mm.
so you had a show like Andy Griffith Show, which was a 30-minute comedy. It got viewerships of 30, 40 million people,
hmm
and what was it? The only comedy on at that hour at that
Yeah.
week, it's like totally different now.
Yeah, I think genre makes a huge difference in that as well. So if I'm going
Yeah.
into my favorite genre is sci-fi. So
Yeah.
going into something that's sci-fi, I will give that more of a chance to hook me
Right.
because I love it.
Sure.
As if, going into something like horror, which I don't particularly enjoy that
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
I will like it needs to hook me. So
Yeah.
when everybody made this big thing about Stranger Things, I was like, okay, I think it's a horror. It's a horror that doesn't scare me at all, by the way, but
Yeah.
it's a horror that I enjoyed from the very, very start because it hooked me straight away.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
also it was also it did a lot of things that way. It was also the first film, a first TV show recently that portrayed that period. People
Mm,
had neglected the 80s, for a long
hmm.
time. They'd done the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, but really that was kind of a neglected period. And
Yeah.
the one thing too, I don't understand why there aren't or any sci-fi verticals. Because I
I
mean,
know I want one.
there I know. It's like, Star Trek with Captain
Mm,
Kirk. He'd always have a love interest on the planet somewhere.
hmm.
It's not like you can't mix the romance with the sci-fi, with the humor and stuff. It's just a genre. They all have
Yep.
the same dramatic elements. And it's not like they can't do it cheaply. Star Trek,
Hmm.
the cheesy set of Star Trek it was just cardboard stuff.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
hoping, I'm hoping they do. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
do. Maybe I'll be the one that gets a crew together and does that because I agree
Please,
with you.
please do it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have been saying that I really want a sci-fi vertical. My dad grew me up with Star Trek, so that was huge for
yeah.
me.
Oh yeah,
Stargate is probably one of my
yeah.
biggest favorites. I love Stargate.
Sure.
I grew up with Star Wars as well, so just a lot
Yeah,
of, just give
yeah.
it to me. I want it, and I
Well,
know it can be done.
oh yeah, and here's the thing. You and I are talking now. Don't broadcast this anywhere. Someone will steal this idea, but it's so much easier now to do with AI to create sets and even monsters or whatever for Star Trek type stuff. And then you still populate it with you can cut rent, you can save some costs in some areas, that would before have been huge. And by the way, the big studios are doing that too. They're using a
Mm,
lot of cheaper ways of getting backdrops and things like that too. So
yeah.
I think if you were smart about it and you thought it through and you had a really good plan on for production, that sci-fi vertical, it would probably start to eat up some of the other stuff. Like they do werewolves and vampires and stuff. Why can't they do sci-fi stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit on the fence about AI.
Yeah,
I'm all good for AI when it comes to like information, like Chat GPT and getting,
yeah,
knowledge and stuff like that. But when it comes to, I'm seeing a lot of AI verticals and I don't agree with them at all. You're taking
yeah,
away from the creativity, you're taking away jobs, you're taking away,
sure.
just so much. So I don't want to see AI in
Yeah,
TV anywhere. That's just
yeah,
me. But I do agree that sometimes it could be great to be used as like a background screen type
yeah,
thing. Like you said, we use
yeah.
backdrops, we use things like that, but don't take away the jobs.
That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
I've done three, which are supposed to be aired soon this quarter. Three expedition files. I don't know if you know that show, but it's Josh Gates is the person, the host, and then they reenact with actors famous historical scenes and expeditions and things like that. And so I'm always like the Greek Socrates or Pythagorean theory, though all these guys or some Greek priest or something. And
Hmm.
but the backdrop they use is a looping. It must be AI or it may have been film, but it's looped in the background. And then they build the sets all around the real sets in front of it. And they have a crew of about, I'd say, 2 dozen people at least. So everything else is the same.
Yeah.
And the show looks really great. And
Yeah.
you're not putting I don't know, I guess you'd put production designers out, but they build sets too. They build sets
Hmm.
with wood. Carpenters are there, doing this stuff. So I think they can do a mix, but I'm with
Yes.
you. If there's a people element, don't don't steal a bunch of jobs from that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As long as you're not taking away from the originality by just, like you said, the backdrop, that's fine. I think I
Yeah.
could work with that, but don't take away my favorite people, the people
Yeah.
that I
Sure.
support by doing this to put in AI. I just,
Yeah. Well,
no.
the other thing with AI is my question as always is, does it look real? But does it really
Mm,
look real? That doesn't look real.
no.
Real when you see
Yeah,
it. So yeah,
exactly. Exactly. And to be honest, I think it's very dangerous. AI can be used to be very, very dangerous.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
let's just keep it to the people.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Being a people, I agree.
Yes, yes. Okay. What's the biggest creative risk you've taken so far?
Oh my gosh, creative risk. I don't know. I mean, some people say, would you do this or would you do that? Would you like there's some questions they always ask. Would you appear nude? Would you kiss someone of the same gender? Uh, would you perform violence or whatever? I'm like, I'll take any risk. The risks to me are what make great characters.
Mm.
So I don't know that I have taken a risk that was huge yet. But throw the parts at me, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm of the age where, yeah, show it to me. I mean, I'm all for it. I won't do anything that's you know that makes fun or pokes fun of people or classes of people or that's humorless just to be mean. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I won't. That to me is not a creative risk. That's a moral risk. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that.
No, I agree. That's good. All right. Is there anything you want anybody to know about you or your work?
Just if you see me and see my work, I hope you appreciate it and know that I'm constantly trying to get better. One thing I mentioned before about I kind of see these things as symbiotic. I work out daily, and 70 years old, 2.5 years ago, I weighed 25 more pounds. I was in pretty bad shape, and I've started to work out daily. I have a mobility trainer. I eat right. I'm plant-based. I got a lot of energy, and I think it helps my acting too. So, they're symbiotic. So that's something that I would tell people. If you're an aspiring actor or whatever, just know that a lot of the people who are actors and behind the scene and all that, they are just like you, and they're trying to do their best and hope it shows up on the screen too.
Yeah, it helps with confidence, and confidence is the biggest thing you need in this, I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a big thing with casting directors. If they know right away if you're being meek and you're not going to trust what you're about to show them, but
Mhm.
they will believe if you come in strong and prepared.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it and then do it again.
Yeah, in a different
Yeah.
way.
In a different way. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
All right. This is a good one for you since you're just starting out, but how do you stay authentic and present on set with all the distractions like camera crew and time pressure?
Oh gosh. Well, I uh, I kind of have this plan for you'll know what scenes you're going to be in during the day with the call
Mm.
sheet. So I make sure I'm good and ready for that period of time. The other times
Yeah.
I'll spend trying to hit up on actors and other people, even have lunch with the director or some of that to learn a little bit more. I'm really big on lighting. I want to learn more about how they do the lighting. The producers, I submitted a script to the producer in this last the last vertical I did, and she took it and ran it by her writers, and she said, it's not quite vertical material, but that's okay. I said, I'll be back. So it's
Yep.
like, to me, it's constantly, they had a promotional person on the last set with Gabe and me on that set. And I was so into the filming that I was watching it being filmed. I didn't even talk to the promotional person because they kept breaking and pulling people away. But I was like, man, I'm really into this scene, how they're shooting the scene and all that. It's fascinating. It really is.
Yes. I mean, I've done a little bit of videography before,
Mhm.
and just learning how things are shot and how differently you could do it.
Yeah.
I was put in a position once where it's just like, shoot this for like a minute and then come back and show me.
Oh, okay.
And I did that. And then they went and shot it. And I watched them shoot it. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay. I
Yeah. Right.
get it now. So that's why now I'm like, I think that helped me a lot with my photo editing as to color palettes
Yeah.
and positioning
Yes.
and things like that, because you
Sure.
can learn
Yeah.
so much by just,
Yeah.
I'm more of a visual person. So if someone shows me how to do something, I'm better at
Right.
learning with it. Yeah.
Right. Um, I do. I wanted to mention one thing is casting director told me this that and in my agent, I have Posh Talent Agency is my agent, but it's not it's not for dramatic purposes, theatrical purposes. It's for modeling and for video shoots and advertisement commercials. But
Yeah.
they said that casting directors like to see people who are kind of look like the character. So like I have a pilot's hat. I
Hmm.
can do that. I've got masks and gloves if I want to do medical stuff.
Yep.
I've got sunglasses. If I play a cool character, I take off my sunglasses. I've got I've got another phone so that I can talk on the phone, so it looks like I'm
Yep.
talking on the phone. I can even do a priest. I've got this thing where I can,
Yeah.
a bishop.
Hmm.
I've got hats, all that stuff. And it's
Yeah.
may sound, I have a doctor's smock. It may sound hokey, but
No.
if people are interested in acting, or if you're casting director, if you're part of a production, that stuff, it also gives an actor confidence. So when I'm
Yeah.
dressed the part of that character and I have the sides, I feel
Mhm.
like, man, I really am that priest.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
look at me. I look like, you know,
As you were showing me those, I've heard a lot, is when you're in costume, it helps bring out that character so much more. Costume's a huge part into all of this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They had this the first one that I was in. I'm supposed to be this 80-year-old Horace Bristol, big billionaire, right? But he walks with a cane. It's a gold cane. Well,
Hmm.
and I was just telling you, I'm in pretty good shape. I really don't need a cane for 15 years, I hope. And
Hmm.
but I'm like, but it got me into that character, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm walking a little more bent over, and yeah, the props and the costumes, that's what makes it kind of fun too. Really does.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. All right. I have two more questions left.
Okay.
What's your funniest moment on set so far?
Oh, funniest Oh, um, we well, I won't give it away because the people haven't seen what was we changed the name to or they changed the name to uh the betrayed and abandoned son of Ashford. That's what Gabe was that you talked to. It when we were on set, it was called Love by No One. I guess they were keeping it secret so it wouldn't get out.
Mm.
But I was the patriarch in that. Then that one I was Harold Ashford,
Mm.
and he was always they were trying to poison him and do all these things. So there was a morgue scene where they took me in and they made me look like I was dead. I really wasn't dead, of course,
Hmm.
but I wasn't white enough, so they took me back, give me more white. And like we filmed it when I'm laying on the slab there in
Yeah.
there, and like everyone starts cracking up, and I'm like, because I was trying to play it, dead. I had to keep my eyes closed
Hmm.
on, and I was like, "Hey, come on, what's going on? I'm trying to act here." It was like, that's pretty funny. Everyone started laughing because I really looked dead.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram page, that
Yeah,
particular
yeah,
photo.
it
Yeah.
was funny. That was funny. Yeah, the makeup people are amazing there. They can, they
Hmm.
had fake blood. There's another scene. I think that's on there too. The Instagram. I pull out the fake blood, and I mean, some of the stuff looks like really real. I got into the cab to go home after that. I hadn't taken my makeup off. The guy says, "Ooh, when you getting out of the hospital or something? Well, you all right?" Because the makeup, I looked dead white. It was like so funny.
Oh, that's funny. I actually recently interviewed a makeup artist, so I got to learn a little
Oh,
bit more about
good.
that as well,
Oh,
which was
they're
good.
good. They're really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yep. So important. So important. Okay, last question. What are you still trying to figure out as an actor?
Oh, jeez. Do we have another hour?
Sure.
Oh man, just so many things. Uh,
Mm,
just constantly trying to learn new things is what I'm all about. And I have, the first thing people think about is what you look like, and okay, he's going to be an older actor. He's got a beard. He's probably distinguished. Blah blah blah. But then you get past that, and that's what makes these great actors like that have been around forever, like a Brad Pitt, or is popular and a good actor, or a Al Pacino who's done a million different, or Dustin Hoffman is a great actor. Harrison Ford kind of has this range, he has this range in that certain range. But Tom Hanks can do anything. Meryl Streep can do anything, you know. So once you get past that look, it's like that's where my passion is trying to get into that so that it's not just what I look like. It's
mm,
how can I do that performance and how Tom Hanks played an 8-year-old kid. I mean, and it
mm.
was believable and big, and or 10, whatever. And so that to me is where I want to try and head. And I keep that in my mind, that visual kind of in my mind is, I'll act younger and see if it works or whatever you need to do. That's why I
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah. I think Tom Hanks is one of the most brilliant actors ever.
So good. So good.
Hmm.
And talk about minimal. I mean,
Hmm.
he's and range. I mean,
Hmm.
he can go from this to this in a second. He's believable. He's every
Yeah.
man, every person. He's just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Okay.
Mm.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to have this interview with me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the service you're providing to everybody too. It's really great. I really love it.
Thank you very much. Well, you have a good day, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.